That yeah. Okay.
Yaakov, there's a famous rock and roll song. You probably don't know it. It's easier said than done.
That's yeah. I never heard this. I never heard the song, but yeah.
You understand the sentiment.
100%. 100%.
Baron, what was that song?
Oh, Dove, come on. You want to hear it again?
No, that's okay.
It's not often we get you singing a niggin over here. It's not.
I know.
Yeah. Okay, so now one last daf here. We have at least 4 mishnayos on this daf. And then this subject stops, but the humor of Yevamos is that it goes into a major sugya in halacha and in Gemara, having to do with cheskes kashrus and chazakas and stuff, and these type of things. So not easy. Even when you get a break from all these tzaras and marriages and this and that, you go into a sugya that's important. But also not easy. I don't know. It's not really as much calculation as this one is. Fine. Yeah. Okay. So let's see. So now we have four mishnayos that all have similar scenarios, but the slightest nuance, as we know, can make all the difference in what the din is. Right. So zog the Mishnah, shloisha achin, yeah, top of Lamed Amud Aleph. Yeah, so you have 3 brothers, Shnayim and Nesuim Shnei Achoyes, and 2 brothers are married to 2 sisters. Ve'echad nasi nachris, and one of them married a nachris, meaning a non-related woman. So again, the standard 2 brothers married 2 sisters, and one brother married out of the family. He married stam a lady. Meis echad mibali achoyes. So if one of the brothers dies, right? One of the brothers of the sisters dies. The kanas nasi nachris es ishtoi, and the one who married the guy does yibum, right? Because he's allowed to. Meaning, when you have 2 brothers with 2 sisters, you're not allowed to. The brothers are not allowed to do the yibum, right? Because because our good old Zika, right? So that they neither one can do them, but the 3rd brother is allowed to. Umeis harish mace, and then that brother does. Okay, so now you have 2 almanas. One is going to Ruvain, and one is gonna. I mean, whatever. There's 2 almanas, all going to Ruvain, right? Now Ruvain has 2 wives that he has to deal with here. He has to deal with Levi's wife, who's not related to him, and he has to deal with Shimon's wife, who is related to him, because Shimon's wife is his sister-in-law, right? So how is this going to work? So the first wife, right? So Shimon's wife is his wife's sister, so he's not allowed to do yibum. So she goes out. The shniya is, he theoretically could be miyavim her because he's not related to her, but she's patur because tzarasa, because she's considered a co-wife to Ruvain's wife, to Shimon's wife, because now Ruvain has essentially 3 wives, which means that there's some sort of Zika here, which the Gemara is going to say there's a Zika there, and it's automatic as if she's considered a co-wife, even though there was never any marriage there. Right? Also by mamar umeis, and then if they did mamar, right? If he did mamar, that's a new case. Instead of in Levi, who was married to the strange wife, to the wife that was not related, if he didn't do yibum, he just did mamar. So as we know, we don't know what to do with mamar. Is mamar considered marriage or not? So now she doesn't go patur, but you can't do yibum either. So what do? Chalitza, right? Also by mamar umeis, if she does mamar and dies, then we do chalitza nachris chaltzas v'lo misyamas. Then Levi's wife does chalitza and not yibum. Yeah, Avrami, we just finished the Mishna on Lamed Amud Aleph, the top. Yeah. So Zok the Gemara. Now this Gemara is going to come onto the bottom of the Amud. So the Gemara is going to be a machloikis on what the Gemara is saying here on the bottom of the Amud. So Taima the Amud Maimah. So on the Sefer, how comes there's chalitza? Because he did Maimah, right? So we don't know if there's considered what the story is. So we think that she's a tzara through Maimah. Haloi Amud Maimah. But let's say Levi would have done no Maimah, right? So then what would be the din? So if Levi didn't do Maimah, that means that Ruvain has his own wife and Shimon's wife and Levi's wife to deal with. But yibum sounds like without the mimer, he would be able to do yibum to Levi's wife, who she's not related. And we're not going to say that there's a Zika, and we're not going to say that there's Zika, right? So that's what the Gemara is saying. So Amar Rav Nachman Zos Emeres, what it means to say is Ein Zika v'afilu b'chad acha. So obviously there's no Zika. I don't know if it's obvious. I shouldn't say obvious. Nothing is obvious, right? But Ein Zika v'afilu b'chad acha. There's no connection even by one brother, because if there was a connection, then you would not be able to do yibum to Levi's wife, right? So because there's no Zika, because if there was Zika, then there would, if you would hold that Zika, if there was Zika, I mean, there's an automatic connection with Levi's wife and Ruvain, right? Then, so then he wouldn't, then it wouldn't even make a difference what with mimer, not mimer, right? Even if there was no mimer, right? Here we're saying there was no mimer. You do yibum. Ruvain does yibum to Levi's wife because there's no Zika, so there's no connection there, right? But if you held it, then there would be no yibum at all, because since there's a connection, they're all sisters or tsaras of sisters, and therefore you wouldn't be able to do it. Okay, so that's Mishnah number 1. Mishnah number 2. Shloisha achim, 3 brothers. Shnayim hem nesu and shtei achayos. 2 of them are married to 2 sisters. Ve'echad nosei nachris, and one is married. One is married to a nachris. Yeah. Meis hanosei nachris. Now the one who died, who married the unrelated wife, died. And so then that's a pasha the case. They can, either one of the brothers, Reuven or Shimon, is allowed to do yibum because this wife was unrelated to them. And one of the brothers, meaning Reuven or Shimon, who were married to sisters, one of them did yibum, but then they died. So the first one is patur because of achas isha, right? The standard case. He can't be miyavim. And the second one, Levi, the one that was married to Levi, is considered a tzara, but also by maimer umeis. But let's say Shimon did maimer, either Reuven or Shimon did maimer and then died. So like again, we don't know what maimer is. So nachrus chaltzas v'loy misyavim. So then the Levi's wife, who's not related to the other 2 wives, gets chalitza or yibum, because we don't know if the mimer is going to do anything or not. So then the Gemara asks.
I've always had an affinity to this Mishnah.
Was that chalitza or yibum? Or chalitza not yibum?
Chalitza v'loy misyavim. She gets chalitza, not yibum.
Not yibum. Okay.
You have an affinity for this Mishnah. No wonder you live in Cleveland.
As if Yevamos wasn't complicated enough. They just switched the meaning of the word harishayna from one line to the next. Rashi has to point it out, but yeah.
That's true. That is true. Right, Rashi says it's talking about the original. Yeah, you're 100%. Yes, very good, very good. So the Gemara says hasu lamali, right? What do we need it for? What do we need this case for? Hainu hach, right? It's the same thing. Because why? Or it's even more pashut. Hashta uma hasam over there in the first Mishnah, the achais isha havi tzara lenachris, the wife, the sister of the wife, is considered a tzara to the nachris by maimer. By having maimer, we said that she's going to be a tzara, and amrit nachris asura, and you still said that the nachris is assur. Here, the nachris, right? Meaning we got nachris means the Levi's wife who wasn't related to the other two wives, that she's a tzara to the achos isha, right? Meaning who's the main wife and who's the wife that was from natural wife, and then who's the wife through yibum or mamar or whatever. So this Mishnah, the erva was the main wife, and the tzara is the nachris. So then, like kol shekain, isn't it for sure that she's not allowed, if the other brother dies, that she's not allowed to go to be part of Reuven? She's not allowed to be part of the yibum, right? Meaning it's more pashut. So then the Gemara gives a fascinating answer. Tanna hach, Tanna bereisha. So the Tanna real. So again, the kasha is you have two Mishnayos essentially saying the same thing. So why do you need both? The Gemara is answering, really, the Mishnah taught the Mishnayos, the second Mishnah was the main Mishnah, right? And then he would say that in the scenario of the first Mishnah, that would not be the same din. Right? And the first Mishnah really would be considered that she is muttar, right? And therefore, it wouldn't be negay. So B'shari, he didn't teach that case. Right? He only taught the second Mishnah. But then he changed his mind, and he decided that the nachris is not allowed to. By the mamar case, the nachris is not allowed to get married. She has to get chalitza. So again, in the first case, he said, in the second Mishnah was taught first, and he thought that would be the din. And in the case of the first Mishnah, wouldn't be. Then he changed his mind, right? I went to my mother's house. She's not home, and I didn't see her there. So then, okay, no. Yeah. Then for ID, no, Yeshua Marchuk is here, doesn't he? So, so again, let's start again. Tanna hach, Tanna bereisha. First, it taught this second Mishnah first. I keep saying first it taught the Mishnah first. Okay, it taught the second Mishnah first, right? And then he decided, he changed his mind. He says, and I'm sorry, I said that wrong. Tanna chad tach Tanna bereisha. First, he taught the second Mishnah. Then v'hach chazi l'teira b'shari. And then he thought that in the first Mishnah she would be muttar, right? V'hadar chazi l'isura. But then he changed his mind and he said she'd be assur, the one that was married to Levi. V'aydi dechaviva le aktama. And since he was happy with his chiddush, right? So it was more chaviv to him. That Mishnah was more chaviv to him. So therefore he taught it first. So okay, so if you're teaching that, so then don't teach the second Mishnah. Mishnah and then the second Mishnah, he didn't move it from its place. He kept it there. So therefore it was.
Maybe that's pshat. Maybe that's pshat why Rishayna is teaching two different things, because they're not really connected. Meaning Rashi at the Taicha for Rishayna is meaning two different things in the first Mishnah and the second Mishnah, right? One is with a tefillah, one is with a but they're not really connected. So each they're meaning they're not like Loizu Afzu. They're not like a continuation of the Mishnah prior. They're completely separate Mishnayos.
Right.
So it could be that just teaching a Rishayna, they're not connected at all. So Mamela, you could just mean two different things. Taisha actually switched the gears. So Taisha somehow connects the two.
What do you mean? With the word Rishayna?
Yeah, he switches to Shnia.
Right.
In the second case.
Right. Yeah, I hear. Okay, it's an interesting thing though, because that means you taught him a total extra Mishnah, right? Just because we kept the Mishnah where it is. Yeah. Okay, third
It's
Mishnah.
also interesting that as we're discussing which wife is the first, which is the second, we're not even sure which Mishnah is first, which one's second.
Right. That's what I thought Akiva was saying. That's what I thought Akiva, like the whole thing is yeah.
Well,
anyways, okay. Third Mishnah. Yeah, Shloisha Achin, 3 brothers. Shnayim mehen nesu and shtei achayos. 2 of them are married to 2 sisters. Yeah, ve'echad nasi nachris, and one was married to. Okay, that's the same If anybody didn't notice, that's the exact. Those two lines are the same exact with all. That's the cases of all these cases in the stuff. Then Meis Echen Mebalei Achayos. Now we're back to one of the brothers who married the wives, who married the sisters, died. B'konas Nasi Nachris, and the brother who married the strange woman, meaning the non-related woman, did as Ishtoi did again. B'konas Nasi Nachris as Ishtoi, and he went and married his wife. Umeisa Ishtoi Shalsheni, and then the second brother's wife died. And then the brother who married the non-related wife died. So now they're all falling to one of the husbands who was married to the sisters. So Arezu assur alav ilamis, she's assur forever, right? Because Hayal Benesra alav sha'acha, since she was assur for 1 hour, then she's assur. I'm sorry, I one second. Back up. I explained the case wrong. The first one to die was one of the brothers who was married to the sisters. Fine. Then the one that did yibum was the third brother, Levi, who was married to an unrelated wife. Then the wife died. Right? I think I said the other husband died. The wife is the one that died. Right? So now, since the wife died, so now basically
which wife? One of the sisters or the
one of the sisters?
Wife?
Yes, that's right. One of the sisters.
The one he was miyavim with.
He wasn't me. He was. Right?
It wasn't the Nachris one?
No, Shimon's wife.
Yeah.
It was the original wife.
Yeah.
The sister that still had a husband. She died, but her husband's alive.
No,
Right.
I hate to interrupt. The end of the story is that Reuven is alive, and the two wives, one is a sister and one is not, is still around.
Correct.
2 other brothers are dead.
You sound like a reporter or something from Ukraine.
Reuven's alive. Shimon and Levi are dead. Reuven's wife died. Only Shimon and Levi's wives are alive.
Correct. In this case,
And
we
they're
have
not, and they're not sisters.
And they're not sisters, right? The two that are left alive.
Yeah.
Just identify as sisters.
Yeah, one was right.
I'm sorry. Could you say this over again slowly?
Okay, okay. You want to know the order of the Mishnah, or like Avi was saying it?
The order of the Mishnah.
The order of the okay, because the bottom line is very helpful too. But we can.
Okay, so whichever way you think I should, whichever way you think I don't understand know. If I knew which,
Naftali, if I knew which way we could understand this, then I wouldn't be sitting here now. I'd probably be in the Bahamas or something. I don't know. But anyway, so basically, you had 2 brothers married 2 sisters, and then the third brother, Levi, married a strange woman. Now again, we say strange woman, but meaning a non-related woman. Then one of the brothers that married the sisters, let's give a name. Reuven. Let's call him Reuven. Reuven died, right? And Levi did yibum. Okay, Levi did yibum to Reuven's wife. Yeah. Then Shimon's wife died. One of the sisters died, and then Levi died. Say at the end of the carnage, we have 2 brothers dead and 1 sister dead. So basically, who do we say? Shimon.
Levi died, leaving 2 wives, Shimon's sister-in-law and a stranger, and no children.
No, one of them.
Shimon's alive.
Correct.
His sister-in-law and a stranger.
Correct. But at the time of the yibum, the sisters were alive. So that means
at the time Levi was miyavim with the sister, he was alive.
Correct. She was still alive, so therefore the other sister became assur to him. Now that the sister died, he theoretically could do yibum because there's no sister anymore. Unfortunately, the sister died, right? But we're
just says if you're assur for 1 hour, you're assur forever.
Exactly. Very good enough, Tol. Yeah. So and then the Levi died. Harezu. It's interesting why it doesn't say it. Well, it's not using names, so that's why. But it's interesting that these Mishnayos. I don't know when the Gemara decides to use names.
I have a little question on that.
So hard.
I have a little
Let's finish
question
the
on that.
Mishnah. 1 second.
Okay.
So what's the din? She's also forever since she was also for 1 hour. Meaning, since that there was a point where both sisters were alive, so therefore they were tsaras and they were achos ishtay, right? It was a sister-in-law. So since the yibum was also, even though now one sister died and there's no longer any sister around, so it should be okay. But we don't say it's okay because she was also. Yeah, go ahead.
When two brothers marry two sisters, when you have two sisters, you marry the second you get married to one sister, the other sister is assur to you.
As soon as you get married to
One sister, the other sister, the only way you can marry the sister. So it's always a case when you come to two sisters that she's assur sha'achas. The whole time you're married to the sister, she's assur.
Correct, 100%. What's the problem?
So how does yibum to her sister ever be allowed? She was always assur to you for sha'achas.
No,
because once his wife dies, she's not assur to him anymore.
We just said she is.
No, yibum kicks in. No, we're not. Your standard.
Levi was miyabein.
Could you let
Reuben's wife is still alive?
Let him say it, Naftali. Let him say it. Go ahead. Go. No, say it. You guys say pshat better than me. Go ahead.
Go ahead.
No, what's happening is Shimon's wife fell to Levi while Reuben's wife was still alive. Correct. That's the sha'achas. Had Reuben's wife died beforehand, then Levi's wife would have been okay for Shimon to be miyabe.
I understand the case over here, the sha'achas, but I'm talking about every time that you're married and that you're assur to your wife's sister. Why isn't that sha'achas?
No, but your wife's...
Because as long as you don't have children with your wife, it's not really true.
No. He's asking a more fundamental question.
Yeah.
The Mishnah just said there's a cloud, there's a rule that Kimish Nesrel of Sha'achas, she can never be mutaris. Right? So how does marrying a wife's sister after the wife passes ever work? It was Nesrel of Sha'achas.
That's not a din in yibum.
That's what I'm asking.
Okay.
That's not a din in yibum. There was no. It's not. This is a din in yibum, not a din in marriage. I mean, yibum is a form of marriage, right? Yeah.
That's the answer.
Yeah. Look at the Gemara. Let's see the Gemara. See the Gemara. Then the Gemara will answer your question, Naftali. I think. Let's see. If not, then we'll continue that. Amar Rabbi Yehuda Marav. Kol yevama she'ena nikoyreba b'shas nefila. Any yevama that when she falls to yibum, you cannot read the pasuk yevama yava yalel that the yevama can come to her. Harehi ke'eshes ach sheyesh labanim v'asur. Then she's considered like a sister in a brother's wife that has kids and she's assur. Right? It's as if she had, meaning if at the time it's a din in yibum. That's basically, it's like a gzeres hakasav, a din in yibum. That if when she falls to yibum, when her husband dies, if she can't instantly be muttar to yibum, which in this case she could not because her sister was still alive, then even if her sister dies, it's gonna be muttar. It's a muttar. She's muttar to the world, and she does not have to do yibum. Does that answer it? I think it answers it. Anyways,
okay.
So my
it's only it's a yibum thing that's a shach. Okay, whatever.
Yes. Yeah. It's a yibum thing. That's a good bumper sticker. It's a yibum thing, which is get us through it's just a yibum thing, right? If you don't understand what's flying, it's a yibum thing. Okay, Michael Mashmalan, what are you trying to teach us? Tina, we already learned it. Harezu asura alav ilamis.
I had a better bumper sticker.
Yeah,
my wife is a tzara.
I hear. Okay, try that. Well,
who's the hot shot?
My other
who's the hot shot who said that?
At least there in Pesach, make it my wife isn't a tzara.
Okay, whatever. Anyways, so Michael Mashmalan, what's the chiddush? Tanina, we already learned it. Arezu asura alav ilamis, right? She's assur forever. Hayol v'nesra alav sha'achas, since she was assur for 1 hour. So what? So we already learned this din. So Gemara answers, Mao the same Mahani Mili Heicha Deloy Ichaz Yalab in the Fila Rishayna. Maybe that's only when she was not able to get yibum by the first yibum. Right? Because here there were two scenarios of yibum, because two brothers died without kids. Right? But where by the Nefila Rishayna, she was okay, meaning, let's say Reuven's wife, or I don't know which way we said it, one of the brothers' wives died after Shimon died, but before Levi did yibum, right? So then, I might think that she should be muttar, right? Because how does it go? Because it's still around, because it hasn't really fully taken effect. Kamash Malon. So we say no, that at any time that the woman cannot have yibum done to her, then it's considered like a brother, like her brother had kids, right? Yeah. So then, but it's interesting thing that it calls it. It's as if why does it say it like that, the Gemara? That it's like as if the brother had children. Just say that they're not right to yibum. That's all. The whole yibum is a chiddush. The whole yibum is a chiddush.
Nagaya even without yibum, even if there was no yibum done, because there was no available brother. There were only two brothers, right?
Right.
So the second one can't do yibum because it's his wife's sister.
Right.
So she marries someone else. There's no yibum involved. She marries another guy.
Right.
And then she gets divorced. He still can't marry her. This will assur her even without a yibum situation.
I know. I'm just saying on the phrase. I'm only saying on the phrase.
That's why I have to say it's ke'eshes afgoy banim. Because if we would say it in the terms of our limud, it would only be negated to yibum. So as far as the Mishna is concerned,
how does it use a lotion that's totally opposite of what the whole mitzvah we're talking about is? They can't think of anything else to say to Chacham, and they're not smart enough. What does that mean? They say something that's totally opposite of the whole Gemara.
It's saying like, it's as if he had kids. We're saying it's as if he had kids. That's what I'm asking. Just a palabatish question. Why don't we just say that they don't do yibum? They're patur from yibum. No, it's as if. How come every time in the Mishna when we say in the first Mishna in the Masechta, there's 15 tzaras that are patur from yibum and chalitza, right? Why don't we say the 15 of them that we look at their brother as we look at the guy as if he had kids? No, you're not hearing it.
I'm not understanding.
I'm hearing it because I wrote it down in my Gemara 7 years ago. I wrote that.
Oh yeah. Okay. Yeah. I'm 7 years behind you. All right.
I don't. I'm not following.
But I'm way more than 7 years older than you, so you're really not behind me. I'm still behind. I'm still a lot behind you.
Thank you for the chizuk. Thank you for the
chizuk.
Yes.
She's an Arab.
Reb Shimon said a svara in the first Mishnah, Lagabi, the din of Shaleha Ba'alamai, which is almost fakir from the way we're saying now. Because he was saying in a case where you were konas and the brother was born in between the time, if you're konas, or mitzad the second marriage, if you were konas after he was born, mitzad the second marriage, that he would be considered, that would be a regular good yibum, because mitzad the second marriage, he was Ba'alamai.
So what are you saying?
So here, if you were kanas the woman, mitzad her falling to you the second time, there's no assur.
So I'm saying. So what are you saying?
In the scenario where you were kanas the woman, and then then the wife dies, right? There was no assur that was called.
Right.
Mitzad the
So, okay. So what are you saying? So therefore, there's no chiddush.
I'm saying it's more of a chiddush when in the scenario where they fall, if she falls beheter, and after the second marriage.
There's no issue even if they fall to the second marriage. I hear. Okay. Fine. No, I'm just asking on the terminology. That's all I'm asking about. The terminology is just interesting. That's okay. Whatever. We'll discuss it after. Let's see. Yeah. But anyway, so again, we're saying that the chiddush is that at any point where she was not roy to have yibum, so then it's then she's patur. So the Gemara says we also learned that case. Two brothers married two sisters, and one of them died. And then one of those sisters died. So one of the brothers died, and then one of the sisters died. Harezu assura, I love she's going to be assur forever. Since she was assur at one time, and here we're talking about where the sister died after the brother, right? So then what's the chiddush? So no one answers normal to say mahasahu de itchila mehai beisa lagamri. There, she was pushed out from this house completely. Meaning when her husband died, right? So then she was the sister to the what do you call it, brother? Aval hacha, to the surviving brother. Aval hacha, the la yitchila mehai beisa lagamri, where he does not push her from this house lagamri, right? Meaning when they fell to yibum, right? There was also a wife, a third wife. Meaning our case, there's a third wife there that was not related, who did have yibum, right? So there was, meaning it wasn't like when the standard case of two brothers married two sisters, then the yibum is out. The whole yibum situation is out from the beginning. But here in our Mishna, where there's a third brother who's married to a stranger, there is a situation of yibum. So then Ema may say migu de chazi lahai nasi nachrus chazi nami lahai. But since the Levi can theoretically do yibum to her because she's not related to Levi's wife, so then maybe also it would be it would be working. Kamash Malan, we say no, since they're not at all roy. So even if Levi is in the picture, we don't care. Fine. Okay, fourth case. Right, that's our default case. Yeah. So Girish, now we get a divorce here. Girish echad mibalei achayos es ishtay. One of them got divorced. Now we know from the first Mishnah that when you get divorced, then the whole tzara goes out, right? Because they're divorced. Yeah. So I lost the place here. So Girish echad mibalei achayos es ishtay. If one of the husbands of the wives divorced his wife, and then Meis Nasi Nachrus, then Levi, the one who married the non-related woman, died. So now what do you have? You have Ruvain. Let's say Shimon is the one that got divorced. So you have Ruvain, who has to do yibum to Levi's wife, right? And then the konsa, so that's basically that. Then konsa megarish. So the one who divorced, though, Shimon, married Levi's wife. So now and then Mace, and then he dies. So now basically Ruvain, I forgot already which examples we used. Ruvain is the one that divorced. Okay, so Ruvain did the divorce. So Shimon. No. Well, Shimon married. Shimon's got a sister and a stranger to be miyavim. Now they were divorced, so it shouldn't be a problem. Zuhi shamru v'kulan shemesu and iskarshu tzara saying mutaros. If any of them died or had divorce, then the tzara is muttar. So here, Levi's wife is considered a tzara to Ruvain's wife. Ruvain to Shimon's wife, right? So granted, he's not allowed to do yibum to Shimon's wife. Well, no, Shimon, he can't do yibum, but Levi's wife is going to need yibum because since it was only sisters from a divorce and they got divorced, so then no problem. That's the standard case. Yeah.
Isn't there a shita that holds if after 2 times she's a katlanis?
We had that.
Yeah, we had that.
I'm saying, and is this mission not like that? Meaning, would you be able to do yibum against that chazaka?
What's that? Why? She didn't have 2 husbands. She had
her
2
husband
husbands.
Died twice. No, he was her first husband died. Somebody did yibum, then he died as well.
No, her
first husband died.
Right. You're right. Yeah, they died twice. Yeah, you're right. Right. So what do we say? What do we say?
Didn't yibum push that away, or it's not according to that chita?
What did we say? I don't remember now. What did we say? We
maybe
asked
that sheet holds the three.
Right.
I'm asking, is this not like the shita that holds two?
Yeah. So the Gemara before said we don't
two
go
answers.
with that sheet.
Either we don't go with that shita, or the mitzvah of yibum overpowers it.
I thought we said it also can do chalitza then. The chiyuv of chalitza.
We still gave him the option.
Is yibum? Did we establish that yibum is a real marriage?
Yeah, yibum is the real marriage. Mamar, right? Yibum is the real marriage. The question is, he does mamar before the yibum. Yeah. Fine. Okay. So zog the Gemara. Time at the girish v'achakach meis. This the only reason is now. When did the divorce happen? The divorce happened before the other brother died. Aval meis, right? Aval meis, meaning before Levi died. Aval meis v'achakach girish. But if first Levi died, now when Levi died, so now Levi's wife is now considered combined with the other two sisters, right? So now even though he divorced, but since that divorce happened after Levi died, then maybe Abba Meis v'achakach kirish. But if Levi died first and then there was divorce, assura, then she's going to be assur because she's a Zika to Shimon's or Reuven's, whichever one of the other brothers' wives, right? So Rav Ashi Zoysemeres Yesh Zika Afilu B'Trei Achi. That Rav Ashi says there is Zika even with two brothers, meaning because there's two brothers here that you have an option to divorce. You have not divorce to do yibum to, right? And we're going to say that there is Zika. Zika again means that your Zika means that there's an automatic connection right when they die, meaning there's no mice that has to be done. So right when Levi dies, right, and the brother's not divorced yet, so then one of these two brothers who's married to sisters has to do yibum with this Levi's wife. Now, since there's a Zika means we look at them like they're married already. So now she's considered connected to two sisters who you have a yibum issue with, right? So then it would be assur. That's what he's saying. So the kasha is the top Mishnah. We said according to Rav Nachman there was no Zika, and here we're saying according to Rav Ashi that there is Zika. So what do we do here? Rav Ashi kasha to Rav Nachman. According to Rav Ashi, we have a kasha Rav Nachman, which again, both of them are Amoraim. I'm gonna preempt Gershon's question, right? That both of them are Amoraim, right? So it's not that we have a kasha from Rav Nachman to Rav Ashi to Rav Nachman. It just means that the one Mishnah can only make sense if you say Zika, and the other Mishnah only makes sense if you don't say Zika, right? It just happens to be that Rav Nachman and Rav Ashi were the ones explaining the Mishnah, but that's the kasha. One Mishnah is Zika, and the other Mishnah is no Zika. So what do you do with it? So Rav Ashi. Rav Ashi will tell you, no, even in the top Mishnah, which we said you needed to have that if there's mamar, then that tells us that there's Zika. I'm sorry, there's no Zika. But nachris michlatz chalitza yibum yevamos. Even if he would not have done mamar, nachris, meaning the Levi's wife could only get chalitza and not have yibum, even having nothing to do with mamar. And this that we learned mamar. Why do you say mamar for? Lafuke beishamai. It comes to exclude beishamai that we had 2 days ago. The amri mamar kinda. It's excluding beishamai who holds that mamar is kinda. On Talmud Beis kinyan gomer, right? So mamar is kanya kinyan gomer. That's what you would think, and therefore they will be considered like they're married, right? And then you don't even need chalitza by the nachris. Kamash malon like a beishamai. So it's teaching us not like beishamai. That's the only reason why I said mamar. Fine. Well, the Rav Nachman kasha the Rav Ashi was Rav Nachman do Rav Ashi, right? Again, what's he going to do what's he going to do if he says that there's no Zika? How is he going to learn pshat of that Mishnah? And if you're going to say, okay, so the whole premise is different. We were assuming that it has to be, if it's mace and achikach girish, then you can't, the tzara is going to be assur. Maybe he holds that even if it's mace achikach girish, but then the words in the Mishnah say zuhi, sounds like it's coming to exclude something. So what's it coming to exclude? The muttar kanas achikach girish. So when it says no, we have something to exclude. It's excluding somebody who married and afterwards got divorced. Fine. So we have a machlokes over how to learn the Mishnayos, whether there's Zika or there's no Zika. Fine. Now we need a little background here, which is something that we learned already, which unfortunately I had no recollection of. Right? That we have a stira between Daf Beis and Daf Yud Gimel. Right? In the first parak, that the first Mishnah was mashma that when does this have to, when does the divorce have to happen, right? Because the Mishnah said, the first Mishnah on Daf Beis says in all the cases if they had divorce, then the tzars become muttar, right? And that it's mashma even if they got married and then there was and then the meaning, even if they got married to the tzaras, to the other wives, and then they got divorced, right? So there were two mahalchim there in the Gemara. One was that there are two different mishnayos, and there you can't ask questions because one they were to machlokes and mishnayos, right? And it's a zu, and the other teretz is zuve and tzarich lemar zu. So we have to fit. Basically, what we're going to say is the machlokes or Nachman or Rav Ashi is that same machlokes. So the Gemara says hanicha. It's good if he holds like Rabbi Yirmiyah, the Amar, Tavra, which literally means broken. Misha Shanazu, whoever learned this mission didn't learn this mission. I mean, whoever taught this mission didn't do this mission. By Tanna Savar Misa Mapelas. And the Tanna holds that the death, right when the death happens, that's, you got to see, okay, is there a connection there of Isser of Erva or not? No. It's when they first get married, right? Oh, it's only when the tzara and the erva are married at the same time. That's when you say that there's the din of tzara. Zuhi lemuute kanas l'sav girish. So the zuhi is coming to exclude if they first got married and then they got divorced. But if you're going to say like Rava, that's the Amar La'olam Chatanahu, that it's really one Tanna B'zu, Ve'en Tzarech L'Omar Zu, and you're going to say that we say this Mishnah, and it goes without saying this Mishnah, right? Even, so then Zuhi Lamute Ma'is, and what is the Zuhi coming to exclude? So Al Karcha Rav Yirmiyah, really, so you have to say that Rav Nachman holds like Rav Yirmiyah. So basically what we're saying is that the Machlokes Amirayim is the same thing as the Machlokes Tanoim. Ularava, they say the opposite. Ularava hanichi sav Rav Ashi, and according to Rava, that's going to be like Rav Ashi zuhi lemute meis below girish. The zuhi is coming to exclude if he dies without divorcing one of the sisters, right? Eli sav Rav Nachman zuhi lemute meis. If he holds like Rav Nachman, what's the zuhi coming to exclude? Al karchak Rav Ashi svirule must be. He goes like Rav Ashi that there is Zika. Yeah, I hope. That doesn't sound like I really understood that fully because the looks are deceiving. I wish I tell you. I read it, and I read it again, and I get it, and I don't get it. Basically, right? For survival over here, we're going to say that there's a machlokes, Rav Ashi and Rav Nachman, whether we should say pshat in these mishnayos, yesh Zika or ein Zika. And there's also a machlokes between Rav Yirmiyah and Rava. I kept saying it's a machlokes tanoim. It's not a machlokes tanoim. It's a machlokes how to learn the two mishnayos in the first parak. Whether the Tanna one mishnah doesn't go with the Tanna the other mishnah or not. Okay, fine. Now we were Messiahim, at least temporarily, all these cases of tzara, at least straight out. I mean, we're going to still have tzara in the next mishnah, but it's not going to be the focal point. Let's start the next mishnah, and then we'll go from there. The kulon, I bet you if I ask the island those that haven't done the daf today yet, what new wrinkle can we possibly put into all these cases, right, to make it more complicated, right? Well, they found it. now we're going to put a suffix kiddushin or a suffix gerushin into the picture, right? So now, on top of all this, what happens in a scenario where we don't even know whether they were married in the first place, right? So what does that do? So Zok the Mishna, v'kulan shayu ben kiddushin or gerushin b'suffix. All these cases, right? All the 15 cases, and the kiddushin or the divorce was a suffix, which means that, again, the marriage of an erva is what makes the whole problem here. But let's say that marriage was only a suffix of a marriage. So then what are you going to do? At least this much I think I would understand. You're going to do chalitza and not yibum, right? Anytime we have a suffix, so we don't know whether the marriage, whether there's issa erva or not. So the easy way out is just do chalitza. Now you have no problem. You can't do yibum, right? Because maybe there's a issa erva there, it's arayas. You can't not let them because maybe there is no issa arayas, because if they weren't married, there's no problem, right? So therefore we're going to do chalitza, right? Obviously the erva you can't do because that's an erva. But what about the tsaras? So we're saying the tsaras get chalitza, not yibum. Fine, okay. But what's the case of suffix? And there, when you hear the word suffix, right, then you know that you're getting into a lot of lamdish Gemara there, because it's what type of suffix does the suffix go against a chazaka? Which one comes first? How do you go with it? So we'll see. So ketzat suffix kiddushin. What is?
Can they just give a get?
What are you saying?
Instead of chalitza, can they just give a get instead of chalitza?
They can give it, yeah, but that also makes a complication. Right, we had that.
Why?
If you gave a get instead of chalitza, right?
Yeah,
of course,
here you have the suffix, so you just clean it up.
No, but saying why would that be better than chalitza? Why would
you know
It's
you'd only have to give a get if there's mamar, maybe. No.
Yeah, but that's okay. I
don't know
what is this considered here.
does it affect her ksuba?
So that we're gonna
Why would it get help against the suffix yibum? Then yibum get only works against mamar.
So he's saying maybe for chalitza, maybe instead of doing chalitza, but that's the marriage.
Chalitza, yeah.
But why? It's a suffix whether you have to do real yibum. So
yeah, okay,
that doesn't work inside the yibum. It's a child whether she's zakuk to you.
It's a suffix in general. So this way you just close it up and you give a get.
But get only works against mamar. That's not how
right. But then chalitza chalitza is not going to be any better than a get. I think it's just going to be straight up the chalitza. It'll be fine. I think. I don't. Okay, so let's see. So now, again, let's just be clear. The original marriage to the erva is what we're questioning here, right? Again, let's use the classic case. A guy marries his niece. You have one brother married to a woman, and then his brother married his niece. He married his niece, right? Now one of them died, right? And now he has to be miyavim, what do you call it? His wife's mother, right? He has to do yibum to his wife's mother. So now, that's only because he was married to an erva, right? When he married his niece, that's what we're talking about here. He married let's say there was a suffix whether the kiddushin even worked when he married his niece. If his marriage to his niece didn't work, right? So then he can't.
But then he could marry his mother-in-law.
Right. So we're not going to let him do. Right. We're not going to let him marry his mother-in-law because that's a suffix. But what about the tzara? Right. What about the other wife?
But doesn't living with the erva constitute of something, even though they didn't say the proper bracha?
No, we're talking kiddushin. We're saying kiddushin. They didn't. You're right, Naftali. It's kiddushin only. They're not nesuim. They didn't live together.
Oh, they were just okay. They were just engaged.
Kiddushin. Yes, very good. Right. So, anyways,
how can it be his niece and his mother-in-law and have a yibum shayla? If it's his niece,
it's his niece.
No, yeah. And then his mother-in-law is married to his brother.
He got married to his niece, right?
It can't be his niece. It's his sister-in-law's daughter. If it's his niece, then his brother had kids. There's no yibum.
What? His niece, not from that brother. Whatever the scenario, the standard scenario.
Okay.
Okay, so what's it? So now, Ketzat Safik, what is a Safik Kiddushin? So Zorak law Kiddush, right? Zorak law Kiddushin. He threw her the Kiddushin. Either he threw her money or the star, right? Safik Karav law, Safik Karav law. We don't know. There was 8 amas. Rashi says there were 8 amas in between them. Now it has to be close to her. We don't know if that money or the ring came within her dollar amas or not. That's a Zeu Safik Kiddushin, right? Fine. Safik Gerishin, what's a Safik if they got divorced? Meaning, again, the scenario would be here is that they were married to an erva, and then he divorced her, right? So what's a Safik Gerishin? Kosa Biksav Yadoi Bein Alav Edom. If it's written in the husband's handwriting, but there's no witnesses. Yesh Alav Edom, or there's witnesses, Vein Bazman, but there's no time written when the gets, we don't know when it is. Yesh Bazman, when it was written. Yesh Bazman Bein Bayala Eid Echad. If there's a zman and there's no only one eid echad zeu safek gerushin, that is a safek gerushin, and memela, all is going to be is chalitza and nothing else. Now the obvious question here is we have 2 cases, right? There's a safek kiddushin and there's a safek gerushin. So what's the safek of the kiddushin? Whether the ring fell within his 4 amas or her 4 amas, right? And what's the safek gerushin? Why can't you say the same case? The get was a shiloh, whether it went within 4 of him or 4 of her. No, we have to say the get has a total different safek, right? It's interesting. It's that Yevamos is meant to be hard. That's the bottom line. It's not nothing. There's nothing.
Not just that, but the safek of gerushin that the Mishna gives.
It's not even a safek.
A 3-way machlekes Tanna in the beginning of Gittin.
Yeah, but okay, I thought you were going to say something else. It's not even a suffix. Okay, but that's going to be the Gemara's kasha. Let's see the Gemara's kasha. If you would suck the Gemara, frek the Gemara, if you would gerushin suffix of law like a tani. By the gerushin, it didn't say it's a suffix whether it was close to him or close to her. Why not? My timer. So Amaraba ishazu becheskas heter l'shuka medis. See, when we start with chazaka, this woman has a chazaka that she's muttar to the shuk, right? Meaning, if this get would not have been, what would be the din of this tzara? She can go scot-free because there's an erva here. There's no yibum. So her chazaka, she has a chazaka that she goes scot-free. You want to try and ruin the chazaka on a suffix? When we suffix at the bala isra, al tashana misafik. You want to do it from a suffix? You can't do it. So therefore, there can now be no shaila of a suffix of the gerushin. Okay, so then if there's no suffix, so what's the shaila then? Of course she goes free, right? So Rashi says the suffix is whether the get, as Rashi says, it's not from a suffix. It's not a get min muvchar. It's just not it's not a get min muvchar, right? But the get is always going to be considered a get, right? So then, okay, so Kiddushin should be the same thing, right? Why are you saying by the Kiddushin there's a suffix? Rabbi Kiddushin also, name a Ishazu, the Cheskas Heter Liyavam. This woman has got a chazaka of a heter for yibum, right? That she doesn't need it. Umisafik atabala isra, and Masafik, you're going to make her assur. Al tasana Masafik, do not make her assur from Masafik, right? So why don't you say the same thing? So my answer is hasam lechumra. No, there it's a chumra. Okay, it's a little too late. We'll start this over tomorrow just to get it clearer. Okay, but it's not. Okay, whatever. I don't know what to say. Whatever. Let's just keep fighting it through and try. And Baruch Hashem, and I think there's more schar in it for this than when you get Gishmak Gemaras. I hope, but what do I know?
Well, at least they only made it
120
block,
120 block. No, I know. Yeah, I was complaining to my wife how difficult Yevamos is. She says, "How much longer?" I said, about Shiva Asa Batamas. Somewhere there, a week before in Thomas, every Thomas, you got Pesach, you got Lag Baimer, Shavuos. Okay, what are you gonna do?
But at least in these Gemaras, there's no shaila. We're learning Lishma.
Yes, that's for sure. That or we don't get out of cleaning, one of the two.
I haven't gotten out of cleaning yet, so.
All right.
Talking about getting out of cleaning or not. That's the next line of the Gemara.
The next week there should be more people at the share.
That's true. That's true. Right?
That's the next line of Gemara. The next line of Gemara.
That's true. That is true.
Exactly what it is.
Yeah. All right. I gotta log off. I gotta go pick up my son.
Okay.
Okay, good night, everybody.
Thank you.